Honestly, I think this might be one of my favourite Star Trek Lower Decks episodes so far, whether it be the random adventures of the USS Cerritos or Captain Riker's combat on board the USS Titan. Lower Decks is getting better and better. Welcome to Trek Central, I'm your host Captain Jack, and let's get right into it. This week's episode of Star Trek Lower Decks is called Kayshon, His Eyes Open, and is our second episode of Season 2. And the episode is being named in a direct reference to the Tamarians, a species encountered in Star Trek The Next Generation, with the famous episode of Darmok. Let's dive in and see what it has in store for us. Now, if you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore, and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media for daily updates on the Star Trek universe. Okay, so straight off the bat with this episode, we're reintroduced to a character who made his debut appearance in Season 1 of Lower Decks, Lieutenant Jet. Voiced by Marcus Henderson, he was previously seen in the 5th episode of the series, now back once again to be a little bit of an annoyance to Ensign Mariner. Have you ever wondered how the lower ranks of Starfleet shower and use the bathroom facilities? Well, now you don't have to. Yes, they use communal sonic showers. This was hinted at during last season, but now we view it in all its pixelated weirdness. Honestly, I did not expect that on Starfleet ships, but here we go. Immediately, we're setting up this episode with Jet and Mariner fighting over who's best in a manner of speaking, along with seeing Mariner compare Jet to Boimler and make constant references to her friend who abandoned her for the Titan. Also, sonic showers can be really dangerous, like damn. Then again, real showers can also be dangerous if you don't set the temperature properly, and we've all done that before, haven't we? I think. The main plot of this episode is on board a collector's ship, as a prominent collector of Star Trek merch has died. This is a morbid thought to think of other Trek fans scrounging through our beloved Trek possessions. Hey, that's what this episode is all about. Now, as you can expect, this episode is chock full of Trek references and Easter eggs. Let's try and get through the ones we've noticed. I've also been told to try and read these as fast as I can, so for the sake of argument, we'll put this in the comments or on Twitter somewhere where you can probably understand it better. We've got a baseball bat, the game visor, we've got a stuffed salt vampire, a trombone, Khan's Delta necklace, the Terran Empire flag, the SS Valiant logbuoy, the Inner Light probe, an arcade cabinet, various Trek melee weapons, Picard's painting, Caddiscot board, a NASA rover, Armin Shimmerman's gift box, Armus, a bottle of Chateau Picard, an isomagnetic disintegrator, Hayless's fornication helmet, that's a weird one, Uhura's outfit, the mask from the best TNG episode ever, which I don't know as they've not wrote it in the script, a baseball hat, the Excalibur copy of Abraham Lincoln skeletons, and finally, a big Spock skeleton. Whoever wrote that in caps in the script, I have no idea why. I never thought we'd see the skeleton of Big Spock, but here we are. We'll put that list somewhere in the comments. Now, before we get more into the collector's ship, let's talk about the titular Lieutenant Kayshon, the first Tamaranian in Starfleet. He is now the new head of security after the unfortunate passing of Shaxs last season. As expected, he does speak some metaphors, but that's only because the universal translator has a hard time with metaphor. I'm very glad he isn't constantly using metaphor, and also the show is starting to use it as a joke as well, but not so much as a joke, as it would seem very un-Starfleet to continually joke about manners of speech. So Lower Decks, as a primary comedy show, still maintains that Star Trek aired to it, which I appreciate. Kayshon is going with the lower deckers to the collector's ship, but alarms are raised and he accidentally gets turned into a puppet. Which makes sense as a defense mechanism for Star Trek collectors. Though the defenses aren't just sock puppet lasers, but also flying Roombas, which dust the collector's giant claws, magnetic furnaces, and a manner of other wacky devices. With a magnetic furnace, you even simply see Rutherford's implant being torn out his face, which must hurt. And here we get to the crux of this plot, Mariner and Jet. As stated previously, Mariner wants to do the bold plans, whereas Jet wants to do the safest plans. Two very different leadership methods, but how is this difference in opinion resolved? By turning to a different leadership model, and asking others on the away team, such as Tendi and Rutherford, which works really well, as Tendi and Rutherford use science plus an Excalibur corpse in order to help them escape the facility before they're all added to the collection. Now, we saw last episode at the very end Boimler and the USS Titan. So what are these people up to? Well, it seems Starfleet believes there is an unknown player pulling the pack-led strings, as they're going after places they don't fit their MO. Boimler and some Titan officers are sent on a mission to infiltrate a mining planet that has been overrun by pack-leds. Long story short, they get found out and have to escape. But how do they escape, you ask? Well, by remembering the tale of Thomas Riker. Yes, Thomas Riker, the transporter clone of William Riker. I wonder where he is now. Anyway, Boimler is the one who managed to get the away team off safely, but in the process accidentally Thomas Riker himself, and creates a clone, who adopts the name of William Boimler, and this is how the writers managed to get Boimler back to the Cerritos, as it seems to be a Starfleet policy to not allow clones to serve on the same vessel. So it also lets us know this happens quite often apparently. I have to commend the writers for thinking of this way to get Boimler back to the Cerritos, and not have it has been his fault. In fact, he is the reason why Titan personnel was saved and how they remembered why they got into Starfleet. Very honourable. But with that being said, who went back to the Cerritos? The original Boimler or the clone Boimler? I don't think we'll ever know. I also have to mention the small references found within Riker's ready room, as Roman ale, jazz vinyls, and a trombone. But the two most interesting parts of Riker's ready room are a model of a USS Pegasus, Riker's first assignment out of the Academy, which made him into the man he is today. And the most fascinating is a Civil War hat, which will belong to one of Riker's ancestors, Thaddeus Riker, Colonel of the United States 102nd New York Infantry. This is fascinating, because it's a small thing from Voyager's episode, but also Riker's future son is called Thaddeus, which would be a nod. This could also explain Troy's absence from this episode, as Thaddeus Troy Riker would be born around this time in 2381. It seems like this might be the end of the road for us following the USS Titan, at least this closely. So before we go, let's get some more jazz references in. Following in Star Trek tradition of naming Starfleet shuttles, the shuttles of the USS Titan are named after famous jazz musicians. From Dizzy Gillespie to Philokinus Monk, both now represent the shuttles Calypsy and Monk. Before Boimler returns to his natural habitat alongside the other lower deckers, replacing Jet from the team, I want to say the group thinking Jet being promoted because he got a piece of sweet corn on his collar is absolutely hilarious, and a great way to explain any rank errors not only appear in the show, but in any Star Trek show or movie. Now before Jet can get too comfortable with his meta jokes about rank incontinuity, he swiftly gets replaced by a returning Boimler. Now Boimler is asked about his time on the USS Titan with Captain Riker, and what adventures they got up to. His response, it was a bunch of complex characters thrown into heavily serialized battles, which always ended in mind-blowing twists and made me question the basic tenets of my reality. This quote alone just seems to be like Mike McGann pitching a USS Titan show, and I'm all for it. Quite frankly, a show of William Riker aboard the USS Titan would be fantastic. It is something that not only Trekkies have wanted, but also Jonathan Frakes himself. Though he might be a little old for it now. But then again, we did get Sir Patrick Stewart back for Star Trek Picard, so anything is possible. The episode ends with Kayshon attempting to flirt with another officer on the USS Cerritos, and failing miserably at it. Honestly, I think we can all relate to Kayshon at this point. No matter how hard you try with someone, it always comes down to drinking and being alone. Shaka when the walls fell. Let's talk about our opinions on this episode as per usual. While the first episode of Star Trek Lower Decks was a fantastic start for the second season, this second episode itself was much better personally. Not only do we get more time with Captain Riker and Boimler, we're also introduced to Boimler returning to his ensign friends aboard the Cerritos. While this episode is about Boimler returning to the Cerritos, it also shows more insight into the character of Ensign Mariner, and the dealings with command authority, which has been a constant theme throughout the series of Lower Decks so far. Her butting heads with Lieutenant Jet, but then discovering they're on a similar wavelength was a nice touch, especially how it ended with Boimler replacing him and Mariner likely going back to original ways anyway. The details and references in this episode were fantastic, from minor little references that only some Trekkies will understand to the common ones like Riker's trombone in the Titan's ready room. Speaking of which, one thing I love with this episode is the fact we got more of the USS Titan. Previously we've only seen the exterior of the starship and the bridge, which is similar to that of the Enterprise E. Now with this episode, we've seen the shuttle bay, transporter room, Riker's ready room, and more. The Enterprise herself was mentioned a few times inside this episode, which makes sense as it is Lower Decks. Though referring to the Enterprise D as the D was funny. Honestly, while it's a bad joke, this did get a laugh out of me on a couple occasions. Sometimes I personally find that while Lower Decks is interesting and a good watch, it does struggle to keep my attention with certain episodes. However, this episode grabbed me all the way through. Whether that be due to how it's structured with a focus on the Titan, but also on the Cerritos, it will remain to be seen. While I hope we haven't seen the last of Captain Riker and his Titan crew members, it's important to remember this show is about the lower deckers of the USS Cerritos. not the adventures of Captain Riker and the USS Titan, as much as we want it. Overall, this was a great episode of Lower Decks, and I can't wait to see how it evolves more going forward. Especially we seem to be getting a small background story, with the Packlers being an annoyance in the Star Trek galaxy. That'll be interesting to watch, as well as waiting for other cameos in the series so far. Don't forget you can watch Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2 every Thursday on Paramount Plus and Crave CTV Sci-Fi, or on Fridays via Amazon Prime Video for international viewers. Once again, this is our review of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2 Episode 2. Make sure to let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments section as per usual, because if you're talking Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper my friends, goodbye.